Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Jacksonville, in front of the old post office. This old building's been vacant since the 1970s probably, and in all those decades, people in Jacksonville are wondering, what's going to happen to the old post office? What's it going to become? Will it become anything? Well, now we know. It's going to become the Jacksonville Area Museum, and Dave Blanchette, it's taken some time, but the last couple of years things have really picked up pace, haven't they?
Really, in the last 3 years, we've gone full bore on getting this museum ready to be up and operating. We've moved the collections in here. A lot of money has been spent from donors to get the building up to code and make sure that it's weather tight and the utilities work. And we just had a work in progress tour that a lot of people came to and were just thrilled by. So by the middle of 2021, we should have an open functioning museum, the Jacksonville Area Museum, in this building.
Yeah. I guess when you first laid eyes on this building, it was in pretty sorry shape.
It was, although they don't build them like that anymore. So I mean, the building was
sturdy,
very solid,
yeah.
And so it just needed some TLC, roof work, interior work, some window work, new utilities, that sort of thing. The non-sexy items that you have to do to a historic building to make it functional again.
How did it find its way from being an old post office to becoming a museum? It had changed hands. How did all that occur?
It ceased being a post office in the late 1970s, and then it sat vacant for a while. Then it was a museum. I'm sorry, then it was a restaurant for a while. And then that went out of business, and then for at least the last couple of decades, it's sat idle. And then the Morgan County Historical Society purchased the building with the idea that it could be used as a museum building in the future. And since that time, they have raised some funds from donors to fix up the building. The Rotary Foundation made a huge donation for landscaping and work on the building, then the Bound to Stay Bound Foundation. And so they are the owners of the building. The Heritage Cultural Center Board of the City of Jacksonville, of which I'm the chairman, is the tenant in the building. And the new entity will be the Jacksonville Area Museum.
Slick. Let's go inside.
All right.
Well, Dave, after you get in the building, this would be the first thing you see. This would have been the entrance, and this would have been when this was a post office, people would have come in here to do their business, right?
This is where people would buy stamps. This is where the post office boxes were located. This is where the postmaster had his office. So it's a very familiar site for a lot of the people who have been around Jacksonville for quite a while.
Yeah, it's also phase one of the new museum. And what phase one means is this is the area of the museum that you all hope to have finished off first. Is that right?
That's correct. Phase one will be open in July of 2021. And what we're going to do is have exhibits here. We're going to have an office and a gift shop, some children's activities, handicapped accessible restrooms, all the basic things you need for a museum. But we are doing the project in phases, so we can get the museum open to the public much more quickly and then build excitement for phase two and for phase three.
And you mentioned exhibits, and if we go this way, we'll actually get a chance to, they actually have one sample made already, and this is what some of your exhibits are going to look like.
This was the sample exhibit we did for our open house just very recently. And we wanted to get public input. Is it too big? Is it too small? Do they like how it's arranged? Universally, the public seemed to like it. So now that we know that our beta test, if you will, worked, we can design the other exhibits in this manner. Now, no two exhibits will be alike, but the structure of the exhibit is set up so that it's very, very flexible. You can move these exhibit cases. We can put new artifacts in them. You can put up new graphics about any sort of topic that you would like. And that's good because this museum, much like many of the successful museums nowadays, you keep updating things, keep changing things out. You feature new things you're getting. You highlight anniversary dates. So it gives people a new reason to visit.
They want to come back.
They do.
They want to come back.
They do. And plus you can showcase more of your collection.
Yeah. Now, and this is interesting because you say this exhibit came together pretty quick. Well, it did because you had local help, right?
That's right. And with any exhibit that you develop, any museum you develop, there's always that last minute rush as you're getting ready to welcome the public. But we had people who work on theater sets for local theater guild who built this exhibit framework. And then we have a graphic designer who works very closely with us, who used to be a board member, and he did all of the graphic design work. He got the printing done. He did the installation. So it literally came together in 2 days,
well,
2 very long days.
Like a theatrical performance would. I mean, hey, it's opening night. Let's put the set together, right? Boom.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. It's great to have local help. Now, we recently had read in the news about the closing of McMurray College and the fact that your museum is going to become owners, I guess, or at least on loan some of the artifacts from the college. And that's what we see in this room. We're still in phase 1. Some of the items from McMurray have found their way over here.
These are the Nellie Knopf paintings, and Nellie was associated with McMurray College. She was an instructor there, but also she's a world famous painter, watercolors and oils. And McMurray had an extensive collection of her paintings, but as part of the closing, McMurray was required to auction off those paintings. So a benefactor who loved McMurray and who loved the mission of the Jacksonville Area Museum purchased these 7 paintings at auction and then donated them back to the McMurray Foundation, which is the group that's taking care of the heritage of McMurray. We have a long-term agreement with the McMurray Foundation, a 10-year loan agreement with 10-year renewal provisions, and it comes with a very generous financial stipend every year. So we will house McMurray's entire archival collection, including whatever Nellie Knopf paintings are donated back. And then it is our job to then work with the McMurray Foundation to interpret those items. You may see photographs one month, you may see artifacts another month. We're still going through deciding what we're going to feature when with the McMurray Collection, but they're going to have their own area in this museum. It won't be this particular area. We have these paintings hung here because we had to have a space for them for our sneak peek. But we anticipate that Nellie Knopf in some form will always be displayed in the McMurray hallway.
At least 7 and maybe more.
At least 7, yeah.
And they're so colorful and
they
beautiful.
Are.
I mean, they really. I had heard that she was a contemporary of Georgia O'Keeffe, and you can see that's sort of the color schemes and the brightness and the vivid. The picture quality of it.
Certainly, and especially the bouquets and the flowers that you see in some of these. It's just, you're right, you can tell it's from that same period, the same style.
Oh, you're very fortunate. And, like you said, a generous stipend to go along with it. Not only do you get this quality artistry, but you've got the stipend to go with it. That's terrific. Now, these Lincoln busts were also
These
part of the McMurray
were
collection,
part of the McMurray collection, and they were displayed at various places around the college. McMurray, unbeknownst to me, has a very extensive Lincoln collection. Staff from the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum have come to look at the collection, and they said it's a very good collector's collection, meaning that people who are interested in Lincoln, this is like nirvana to them.
They would make a trip to Jacksonville to see these.
Correct.
Yeah.
But there aren't any documents in Lincoln's hand, there aren't any things that he physically owned, but it's a very good book collection, some very unique publications, very unique correspondence with people who Lincoln may have known, and also some very interesting original Civil War diaries from soldiers who fought on the Union side during the Civil War.
We'll get a chance to see those today, won't we?
We certainly will.
Okay, good. And again, I think this artwork that's in front of the busts here, this is Nellie Knopf's work here.
Yeah, these are things that the college did not have to auction. These are sketches and some smaller paintings that were never published, never sold. We're interpreting them here with the paintings.
Yeah.
So
nice. Okay, let's go back to industry a little bit. Well, first, we got hot roasted nuts here. I don't know what era this came from.
This was turn of the century. It's a peanut roasting machine.
Wow.
Where a peanut vendor in downtown Jacksonville on the square used to cook, keep warm, and sell roasted peanuts. They're right on the square. Oh, wow. And if you can imagine how popcorn is sold nowadays from wagons, you sometimes see that. Well, they did that with peanuts.
And 25-cent Cokes.
Yeah, a period Coke machine. I can remember putting my money in and pulling the bottles out of machines just like that.
I do too. You remember?
And there used to be a Coca-Cola bottling company in Jacksonville as well. So looks like somebody got a little impatient trying to get their Coke out.
We're going to have, I mean, I think Jacksonville probably has, for its size, more famous people than most towns. But I mean, you're going to have more and more information about these folks, aren't you?
Yeah, and this we set up for our sneak preview work in progress tour, just to kind of, whet people's appetite. Where the Nellie Knopf paintings are currently now, that is going to be our wall of famous Jacksonville people. Mm-hmm. It will be like they gathered on bleachers all together, and it will be something similar to this, where you will see faces of the people and maybe some of their personal effects or artifacts associated with them, and a little bit about each one and why they were famous. This is just a small selection. We anticipate we'll probably have 20 or 30 in that gallery, and it will be a focal point of the museum. You turn the corner and there's this wall of famous people.
Major John Wesley Powell, Kenny Norton.
Yes.
Wow.
I remember seeing that fight with Muhammad Ali, where he broke Muhammad Ali's jaw.
Well, I think that was by points too, wasn't? Did Ali win that on points?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, for folks who aren't familiar with this, I just want to point out a couple of things here. This company is still here and does a lot of bookbinding. In fact, Jacksonville's been a bookbinding town for a long time, hasn't it?
That's correct.
And they're also a benefactor of the museum, which is a very nice thing.
Yes, the Bound to Stay Bound Foundation has made several large donations to the museum, which has allowed us to put the climate control systems in the building, fix the roof, put restrooms in, all of the stuff that's not sexy, but you actually need that before you can open to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is interesting because Ferris wheels, I don't think the first Ferris wheels built here, but certainly they were the first big company to build Ferris wheels, and they're still doing it.
They still are. It's called Eli Bridge Company, and they still produce the Ferris wheels and carnival rides, and they are in their old factory location on the north side of Jacksonville.
One more look while we're in this section of the building. Let's go down this way. The postmaster's not in, but this area is still being used.
That's correct. This is going to be our visual storage area for the museum. There are a number of different places where we store the artifacts from our collection. Now these are very visually interesting, and so we thought we'd give people a peek, if you will, about some of the artifacts in storage. We also anticipate this will be the room where our audiovisual program will be shown, so people will sit amidst the artifacts to watch the audiovisual program.
So when they come in, they would get a sort of an orientation.
Correct.
Okay.
If they wish. And it would just kind of introduce them to overall Jacksonville history, why it was at one time known as the Athens of the West. Some of the state institutions and things associated with them are in here, business items, children's items, just the pretty stuff that we can't have on display all the time, but we might as well let people know that the things you're seeing in the museum are just a small sampling of our total collections.
Yeah. And then more of the total collection would be in storage elsewhere in the building.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, two other folks we need to mention here. I had never heard of this dentist before, but apparently he was very important in the founding of modern dentistry.
Yeah, Green Vardaman Black, or G.V. Black, was a famous dentist from Jacksonville, and he came up with a lot of the things that dentists use today. I don't know exactly what they are, but he's very well known, and there are signs denoting him at several places around town, and we have his bust here.
And I'll bet you'll have more of explanation and interpretation of him as the years go on. And a lot of people remember this scale because as babies they may have been weighed on this scale. Right?
Yeah, and as babies they wouldn't remember, but they would know that Dr. E.C. Bone, who's pictured there, the late Dr. E.C. Bone, his family has given this to us on long-term loan, and this is the scale he used to weigh the thousands of babies that he delivered when he was a physician in Jacksonville. And when we had our work in progress tour, literally half of the people that passed by this said, "I was weighed on that scale." Because they knew they were delivered by Dr. Bone, including my late wife. So,
okay, Dave, we're still in phase one here, and this is an area that'll be really accessible very easily when you first come in. And you've got, now this is interesting because I'll bet you children have never even heard of that there was a woman, or usually a woman, that would sit at a machine like this and arrange phone calls for people.
Yeah, this is literally a turn-of-the-century telephone switchboard, which we have restored so that children can actually take the cables and plug them in, like the old telephone operators would, and pretend like they're linking up telephone calls and flip these switches and everything. What's also neat about it is that the wooden sides have been replaced by plexiglass, so they can see the cables and the weights on the cables. So when you would release the cable, you could see how they're weighted, and it makes them go back to where they're supposed to go. Yeah. And there's also a set of old batteries in there, which helps explain how the whole unit was powered by early form of electricity.
We were pretty smart even back then, weren't we?
We sure were. This is the mobile phone.
Yep, that's right.
Of the 1900s.
That's right. That's right. And Mrs. Tucker, a lot of people remember Mrs. Tucker, but she had a plant here, didn't she?
That's correct. That's one of the industries that was spoken to by that exhibit about industry here in Jacksonville. Mrs. Tucker's, they produce salad dressing and other cooking liquids. And this is the logo, Mrs. Tucker's logo. We made a children's puzzle. So you can disassemble it and then reassemble Mrs. Tucker's face, the corporate logo. It's just kind of an activity for children to do. And they learn a little bit.
Yeah, they'll never forget her.
That's right.
Now, in this area, this is interesting because we can tell now that we're no longer in a 1920s post office building. I mean, you're trying to modernize this area. So how is this getting transformed?
This area will be the office area, the greeting area where our volunteers will report, and we also plan to have a gift shop here as well. And so this is just some new walls that set it apart for that purpose.
And how's the work getting done? I mean, do you have volunteer help, or do you have
No, we have a contractor who's being paid by the Bound to Stay Bound Foundation, who has done most of the work inside, the restrooms and things like that.
So. God love them for pitching in. That's fantastic. And this is, these signs really don't have anything. These are just old signs, right?
Yes, so, and we had those out for our work in progress tour. The Leshen building was at the old state hospital, and then the Waddell Company was an old store in downtown Jacksonville. We have a number of different signs of various sizes, and we just thought it would be neat to put these out.
Show
as well as maybe an example of some of the artifacts that might need a little bit more work, such as this old labor banner from the Bakers and Confectioners Union. People don't realize there used to be a Bakers and Confectioners Union in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Okay, let's stay in phase one here, and let's go down to where much of the, I guess you'd say much of the McMurray collection is being housed, at least for the time being, huh?
This is the parts of the collection that we put up for our work in progress tour. This isn't necessarily what people will see every time they come in here, because they have an extensive collection as well, and like us, we want to put their artifacts in and out of display to show more of the collection. But here is an example of some of the extensive Lincoln portraits and paintings and pictures that they had, some of which are historic and some of which are relatively modern, but it still is a neat thing for Lincoln fans. We also have the Civil War diaries that we spoke about. We have 2 of the 5 that are on display here, and this is a gentleman who actually fought in Civil War battles.
The first one we saw was John Hill Ferguson. He was a Union soldier. And this one over here, I don't see an identification on, but...
Yeah, these diaries were by the same person.
Oh, okay. So, all right. My goodness. How that has held up through the years, I can't imagine.
And then we have the life mask and hands for Abraham Lincoln. The originals, of course, are in the Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum. But some collector had those and donated them to McMurray.
So they made some molds of the original, and then and this would be one of those. Wow.
And then as we move farther down the hall, you can see some other iconic items from McMurray. Percy Levon Julian, after whom the chemistry hall at McMurray was named. Very famous African-American scientist.
And he had his own stamp, huh?
That's right.
I'll be doggone. Well, that's an honor. Oh.
And then at the end of the hallway, and this will likely be where the Nellie Knox will reside once we get everything the way we want it. But for right now, we've got another display case from McMurray, and the old college seal, which had been there for decades, the cross and the candlesticks from the chapel, Just some things here and there, which we thought would be very visual for our open house.
As we speak now, it'll only be a very, very brief time before McMurray buildings and property are auctioned off. So these kind of things would not be available in the future because whatever's not here is going somewhere else.
That's
right?
correct. And the entire archival collection is coming here. So all of the historic artifacts, the historic documents, except for student records, are coming here.
Yeah.
So that was the whole idea with the agreement between the college and the Jacksonville Area Museum, was that somebody needed to get this stuff so it could be appreciated by future generations. So that's why it is coming here.
Yeah, well, that's just fantastic arrangement. That is just a wonderful arrangement.
And here we have a bust of Senator McMurray, after whom McMurray College is named.
He was a state senator, huh?
State senator.
McMurray was originally, correct me if I'm wrong, was originally an all-girls school, and it wasn't affiliated with Illinois College, which was an all-men's school.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
And these are just some scrapbooks. Somebody apparently was following
There's Woodrow Wilson, of course.
Wilson and Taft election. So.
Well, this is just going to be a phenomenal experience for Jacksonville. And you can see, like I like to call your upcoming, or the tour you just had, a work in progress tour, and there's a lot to do, but obviously a lot has been done.
It really has. We made a lot of progress in just the last couple of years. I have a really energetic, active board, very dedicated. People have specialties on that board, which is serving us very, very well. And we just moved the collections in this past February into the building, so everything is now under one roof. We've got a security system, climate control system, and now we're just chipping away at the things that you need to do before you open.
Yeah, and of course that points to Phase 2, which is our next destination.
Phase 2, we will be raising funds for Phase 2 as Phase 1 is open to the public.
Let's go take a look.
All right.
After you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we just entered Phase 2. Phase 2? Is that right?
Phase 2.
Phase 2, okay.
As Phase 1 is open, people will be able to look through those doors we just passed through and see what's available to us. We can triple our museum floor space by raising funds.
This is a massive room.
This is the old mail handling room. So it was designed to be an open, flexible space, and that's exactly what it is. Very solid, very open, well lit with skylights and large windows. And this will allow us to triple our museum space. And this is where we're storing the majority of our big items in our collection right now. And we've also got some of them arranged so people can see them through the window, so they can have an idea, a rough idea of what is available in this space to interpret.
Do you have any favorites? Do you want to show us?
Well, over here we've got some period dental equipment, including this evil-looking old X-ray machine here. And next to it is the giant geared wheel is a gold rolling machine where they would roll pieces of gold into fillings.
Okay,
and
so we
that could be part of a dental display with a green Vardaman black.
Right, we do have some of the modern dentistry before they were just yanking teeth. You know, it's pretty.
And we walked in by a soapbox derby, but we also have an interesting item here. We saw the industry exhibit and how water was brought to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
This is a piece of the original water line.
Oh my goodness.
From the Illinois River to Jacksonville.
Oh.
Now that's not the water line that's portrayed in the exhibit. That one was built in the 50s. This one was much earlier, and you can see kind of why it might have failed back then.
All the way from the Illinois River, huh?
Yes.
I'll be doggone. So way before they built Lake Jacksonville. I mean, the communities really weren't building lakes at that time. They were piping water from the river.
Yeah, if they could, yeah.
Wow.
Well, as you can see, you know, it's a large space, very flexible, ideal for a museum.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave. This has been terrific. I have a feeling that this is going to be very good for Jacksonville's tourism and the economy.
We hope it will be a destination, and we hope people will enjoy themselves when they come here.
Yeah, thank you. Judy Ty, we were just saying that you're the executive director of Jacksonville Main Street, right?
Right.
We were just saying in there, you know, this could very well be kind of a boon for tourism and you know, the economy of Jacksonville. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. We've been looking forward to this for so long. David probably told you that this has been in the works for quite some time, and we have really been anticipating this. Not really sure exactly what the end result was going to look like, but we knew it was going to be fabulous.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, that building's been vacant since the 70s. I imagine people have been wondering what the heck to do with it for all those years.
Oh, yes.
And now you're only, 2 blocks off of the square. So it really is very accessible for people if they're just milling around downtown to get to it, or if it could be a destination, either way.
Absolutely, and we look for more people to come to visit the museum, which is a wonderful adaptive reuse of the old post office building. And it's our history, and you know, we love to celebrate our history in a variety of ways. We've got the murals, and of course we've redone a lot of the square, still have a lot more work underway.
Yeah.
And this is a fabulous addition to that, and we look for to see a lot of new faces.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a big time for Jacksonville. Certainly appreciate it. The prospective opening of the museum, spring of 2021, not that far away. Of course, you'll be invited. With another Illinois story in Jacksonville, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.